Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a question that sounds like it was pulled straight out of a sci-fi movie, but is actually quickly becoming a very real, high-stakes legal puzzle. We're asking, should artificial intelligence be considered a legal person? And honestly, what does that even mean in the real world?
To make sense of all this, here's our game plan. We'll start with a concept called the horseless cart, then break down what legal personhood actually is. After that, we'll look at the decades-long AI debate, see how the law is acting right now, peek into the near-term future of AI agents, and finally, talk about what happens when we start merging minds in machines.
All right, part one. Let's look at Gustav Schwartz's 1908 streetcar analogy, or the horseless cart.
To really understand how we react to completely paradigm-shifting tech, you have to imagine this thought experiment by Gustav Schwartz from way back in 1908. Picture this: a group of ancient philosophers magically wake up from centuries of slumber and find themselves standing in a modern 1908 city. They see a streetcar running down its tracks. Naturally, they're utterly astonished. How on earth is this thing moving? The first philosopher goes, well, there must be an invisible horse pulling it. The second agrees, saying a real horse is absolutely essential even if they can't see it. Then the third philosopher scoffs and says, no, it's an organism. The streetcar company itself has a head, hands, and feet made up of its management and employees, and that collective willpower is what moves the cart. They're so desperate to rationalize this invisible driving force that they're clinging to their outdated frameworks.
But then, the breakthrough hits. The fourth philosopher looks at his colleagues and essentially says, you guys are all just speaking in metaphors. The wiser conclusion here is that these are simply horseless carts, somehow self-propelled. He hits the nail on the head. He realizes they need a completely new category. And you know what? This perfectly mirrors the exact challenge legal scholars are facing today. When looking at the unprecedented force-driving AI, jurists are scratching their heads asking, is it just a tool? Is it a proxy for a human? Or is it something entirely new, a self-propelled digital entity?
So that leads us to part two. What actually is legal personhood? Let's unmask this legal toolkit.
To figure out where AI fits into all of this, we have to strip away the sci-fi tropes of, sentient, feeling robots. Interestingly, the word persona actually originated in ancient Rome to describe the physical masks worn by actors in a theater to represent different characters. Over time, that idea evolved into a legal concept. Today, legal personhood is essentially just a functional mask. Think of it as a toolkit. Historically, this toolkit was expanded from just covering free humans to eventually including collective entities. This is why a corporation, which is a completely artificial construct, can wear this legal mask and suddenly sign contracts, own property, or get sued in court. So, personhood in law isn't about having a soul or feelings. It's strictly about holding specific roles, rights, and duties.
And this toolkit concept is absolutely crucial because it frames exactly how scholars are debating AI today. They basically split into two camps, the singularist view and the cluster view. The singularist view takes a really minimal approach. It's about granting just a single right or duty. For instance, think about animal rights laws. They protect non-human entities from harm, which is a singular protection, without giving them full-blown personhood. On the flip side, the cluster view is much broader. It hands over a whole bundle of legal roles, like the ability to make contracts, own property, and sue or be sued. This is the default package that adult humans and corporations get. So the big debate right now is, does AI just deserve a singular protection, or the whole cluster?
Moving on to part three, decades of AI debate. We're talking summers of optimism and winters of skepticism.
Now, you might think the legal panic over AI is a brand new thing, right? Actually, no. This debate has been ebbing and flowing for over 40 years. Let's walk through the timeline. Back in the 1980s, during the era of symbolic AI, legal scholars were already wondering if computers could be considered authors under copyright law. Then in the 1990s, scholars like Lawrence Solomon started asking if AI could serve as a legal trustee or even be held liable for damages. Enter the 2000s and machine learning explodes. AI seems so incredibly capable that people were seriously debating whether it could enter into contracts or, get this, pay income taxes. But fast forward to post-2017, as the real-world limitations and risks of these systems became super obvious, the optimism faded. We saw huge policy shifts and a lot of rising pessimism, which snapped the legal focus right back to narrow, pragmatic liability.
Which brings us nicely to part four, the law in action. Let's step out of the theory and into regulatory reality. It's time to see what's actually happening in the real world. You might remember the massive media frenzy back in 2017 when Saudi Arabia officially granted citizenship to Sophia the robot. It was everywhere, but legally speaking, we need to debunk this right now. Scholars widely view this as nothing more than political choreography. It was a brilliant PR stunt to drum up hype for the social robot market. For sure, it made great headlines, but it had absolutely zero concrete implications for rights enforcement. It was not a real expansion of legal personhood.
So, what are real regulators doing instead? Well, the European Union has taken a very firm, practical stance. They've rolled out a triad of heavy-hitting regulations: the AI Act, the Product Liability Directive, and the AI Liability Directive. Through these, the EU has made its position crystal clear. AI is strictly considered a product. It is not an entity deserving autonomous legal status. If something goes wrong, the accountability stays firmly on the human developers and the human users, based on specific risk thresholds. No robot citizens here.
And if we look at the United States, empirical data suggests U.S. courts are highly unlikely to just hand out legal personhood to AI on their own. Why? First off, courts usually require a statutory basis, meaning politicians have to pass explicit new legislation. Plus, courts look for things like the right to sue and be sued, or a collective human identity, which corporations have but AI obviously lacks. It basically creates a massive circular reasoning problem. Courts grant personhood based on attributes that you usually only get if you already have personhood. It's a total chicken and egg scenario. Ultimately, AI cannot cross this hurdle without new laws and a long period of de facto social legitimacy.
Okay, part 5, near-term AI agents. What happens when we introduce generative models and digital proxies?
Let's look at the immediate future, the next 5 to 20 years. Rapid commercial advancements are actively testing our legal boundaries as we speak. Just look at the money. From 2022 to 2023 alone, financial investment in generative models like GPT-4 completely exploded, literally quadrupling in a single year. We've made a monumental shift from AI that just recognizes data, like, identifying a cat in a photo, to AI that actively generates entirely new content, writes code, and plans strategies.
Because of this explosive growth, we're fast approaching the era of autonomous AI agents. Imagine having a personalized digital twin, an avatar that doesn't just answer your trivia questions, but goes out and actively executes customized tasks in simulated environments on your behalf. But as these agents start acting as our digital proxies, they are going to seriously stress test the legal frameworks of guardianship and representation. Think about it. If your digital twin goes rogue and makes a disastrous financial trade, who pays the price? You? The developer? The AI? We are going to urgently need highly nuanced, risk-based legal categories that offer gradients of legal personhood, totally depending on how much autonomy the agent actually has.
And that brings us to our final section, merging minds and machines, and something called the extended mind thesis.
Let's look way past the next 2 decades into a truly transformative future. Just trace the technological trajectory we're on. Step 1 is where we are right now, generative AI, acting purely as tools for content creation. Step 2, we move to those autonomous agents we just talked about, executing tasks independently as our proxies. But Step 3 is where things get wild. We enter the realm of brain-machine interfaces, or BMIs, leading to direct cognitive integration. We're no longer talking about technology in our pockets, we're talking about technology inside our heads.
The capabilities proposed for BMIs are literally staggering. Right now, they're mostly used in healthcare to do amazing things like restore human motor functions. But when you converge AI with BMIs, you open the door to human enhancement. We're talking AI-driven cognitive and memory optimization, or even the active regulation of human emotions. There are even highly controversial speculative proposals out there, like the Cognify project, which suggest we could eventually embed artificial memories directly into the brains of prisoners as a form of rehabilitation to evoke empathy or remorse. The legal and ethical implications of modifying the human mind using artificial intelligence, that is almost entirely uncharted territory.
Which leads me to a final provocative thought experiment to leave you with today. It's called the extended mind thesis. If an AI device is seamlessly, physically embodied within us, becoming an integrated, inseparable part of our own cognition and memory, the entire legal debate shifts. Do we even need AI personhood at that point? Or will we be forced to write a completely new legal definition of what it actually means to be human? It's a massive puzzle and one the legal world is going to be wrestling with for decades to come. Thanks for joining me on The Explainer today, and keep learning.